Thank you for everybody joining on the Zoom call. I've got Anna here. She is involved in midwifery. She is in the United States right now getting her final education, and she is looking to get back into the mission field. But what's really interesting about this Zoom call is she talks about how God defined the call on her life through short-term mission trips. And today she can't wait to get back into the mission field and to provide the education that God has given her while back in the States. Stay tuned. Welcome, Anna. Thank you for joining us on the Zoom call. You had a unique ministry in Guatemala, and I wanted to share with the listeners on our YouTube channel about what you did in Guatemala. And what's interesting is some of the other work that I'm doing as far as working with some other missionaries around the world. We got in the very same conversation about she is a nurse and she is exploring midwifery. So I thought that is so cool. I just got into talking to Anna, and now she's wanting to know more. I did refer her to you. I don't know if you got her information, but I shared your information with her. But if you don't mind, just kind of share with us, who you are and what you've been doing for the last, 3 or 4 years as far as in Guatemala and mission work.
Yeah, so I currently live in Pennsylvania. Previously, I lived in Guatemala and Honduras. I was a nurse there. Then I came back to pursue my master's degree as a CNM, which is certified nurse midwife, because of the work that I did there. So I just graduated a few months ago, and I'm going to be working here with some experienced midwives to gain some experience. And that's kind of what's going on right now.
Yeah. And, I just think it's always interesting when you talk to missionaries, and it just it's like how they evolve into that work. And, we were talking the other day, and, I'm not saying it was never on your mind, but it wasn't really on your mind, to pursue that until you actually got involved in mission work. And then that, God kind of defined who you are in your mission work. And so, you were sharing with me that you've always was involved in missions, even as a child. Your family's very orientated towards missions. And then you guys have some family in Nicaragua. So you guys were doing mission work as a child. Am I correct?
Yeah, I sort of grew up with the opportunity to travel internationally and see and experience different types of mission work. First, it was in Nicaragua, and I would go there almost every year growing up. And then I got to travel to other countries as well. So I sort of was exposed to that like throughout my childhood and teens, and had really great experiences, and always sort of had a love because of that, I think, for Central America.
Uh-huh. So, I mean, as a child, did you feel like you always was drawn towards mission work, and you kind of saw that in your sights as far as pursuing that as an adult?
I think I always had an interest, but I wasn't sure in what area I would work. Medically speaking, I didn't really think that I would do anything medical. That came really much later on, after I was first in Guatemala studying Spanish.
Uh-huh.
So I really didn't think I was going to do anything medical, but when I was there, I sort of felt like God was telling me that that was the direction that I was to go in, to be able to help people in that way. And I sort of had a lot of doubts about it, but it's really cool because God has really helped me to really trust him through that whole process. And now here I am.
Yeah. And I just think it's neat because I have different Zoom calls with different missionaries. And I think this Zoom call is really unique because I think it's kind of helping people maybe discover, and I think that we need to not like put ourselves in this box and say, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to focus on. And through mission work, you really found, I say, your niche, so to speak, of what God is calling you to do in your mission work. You said that you've been to the mission field many times. You went to Guatemala to learn Spanish, and then you started helping at a organization called Casa Materna. Is that kind of how this evolved?
Yeah. So I came back to study nursing after my first time being in Guatemala when I was studying Spanish, and then ended up at the Casa Materna, which is a birthing center clinic that my friend started. And it was there that I really fell in love with midwifery, because I had studied nursing and didn't really know what area I was going to like focus on after finishing my degree. And then because of working there, I really fell in love with it, and then wanted to pursue that specialty to be able to really help in a more meaningful way, the woman and their babies.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, what attracted you to that? I know that wasn't on our question list, but I mean, I'm just kind of wondering what drew you to midwifery?
Well, I took the opportunity to work in that clinic after graduating from nursing school. And so I really fell in love with that specialty because I loved helping the women prenatally, with just healthcare in general, helping them with their births. And I realized that there is such a need for this kind of work globally. Where I was working was very rural, and many people live very rurally in Guatemala, and they don't have access to healthcare. And the infant and maternal mortality rate is extremely high. So I sort of was discovering all of these things as I was living and working there, and just, was like just really interested to be able to help these women better as a midwife.
Mm-hmm. So you kind of saw, like you said, you never really had an interest in medical, started going to Guatemala for language. You realized that you were drew to medical, and it was like another trip that like God kind of defined what you were to do there. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I think the thing but is it's having peace in that process, and I always try to teach people, we got to follow the peace of God. And that is kind of like our green light. And so and then when we follow that green light, it's just kind of like flows. And so really, I mean, I've known you for probably about 4 or 5 years now, maybe even a little bit longer. And I just kind of seen you, flow into what you're doing. And it seems natural now, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally. And that's really how it is. It's just like one step at a time, just following God as he opens each door along the way.
Yeah. And, I mean, we weren't going to talk about this, but you just had a baby. So I can imagine, all this that we're talking about, your midwifery and everything. I'm sure that kind of even helped in that process. Well, isn't it? So you've got this great experience as far as, having carrying a child and being, birthing a child and being a mother of a child. So I'm sure that's awesome.
Oh yeah, definitely. Before having the baby, which he's almost 6 weeks, I didn't really think that you needed to necessarily have your own baby to be a midwife, and you don't, but it has given me a totally different perspective. And because I received such good care throughout my pregnancy and birth, I want to be able to give that type of care to women who need it, who don't have access to that.
That's awesome. And, really, that's a compassion down inside to, why should they receive that? Why should they not get the same care that I got? And, we talked in length about that. And, I'm here in Honduras, and, I'm in a rural community as well, in the sense. And, Honduras is probably, I don't know the stats, but 90% rural. And I'm sure Guatemala is similar. You're around the lake, Atitlán, up in Guatemala. So, it's a rural area as well, because we were talking about rural medical. Now, I hear personally, I mean, we have some medical clinics, but we don't have like nearby hospitals. The closest hospital, I believe, is like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, depending on traffic. So, I'm sure you're in the same situation.
Yes. Yeah, at the lake, it's very difficult with healthcare because the local health centers really are under equipped, and most women not only for lack of resources, but it's also just culturally the norm to give birth at home. And it's normally with a birth attendant who hasn't had training. So if somebody needs to go to the hospital, you're 2 hours away. You may or may not be able to get transportation if you don't have money for that. And so really there is such a need for the work of midwifery in these rural areas to provide education and a safe place for these women.
Yeah. And like you're saying, it's a common practice. It's not like, in the States, and we were joking around about this, because like in the States, midwifery might be more of a, like a fashion statement. I don't even know if that's, because, I want my baby in my jacuzzi, I mean,
Right.
it's because, it sounds neat. It sounds like something I want to experience, something I want to do, but that's not their choice. It's just really, it's what's available. And so, here locally, we have a organization called Rice Foundation. You may have heard of it. And they started kind of a birthing center as well. And he was sharing with me that they dropped infant mortality rate dramatically in this area because of the center. And you were sharing the same thing because of the center, the Casa Materna, dropped the mortality rate dramatically in that area because of this.
Yeah, definitely. We have been able to help so much, and it continues to grow. Today, they're getting more and more patients all the time as the word spreads about it, because it's affordable care for these people that would otherwise not have prenatal care. They would just give birth at home. And not only is the birthing center a safe place for them, but we provide transport if they need to go to the hospital. So it's sort of like giving them these resources that they wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah, because I mean, lacking medical care in the rural area, hospital 2 hours away. Also too, you were sharing with is that a lot of the midwives, it's kind of like something that they assume, but it's not something that they're educated to do. So obviously
Yes.
that's a huge concern as well, because, they're going to encounter things that maybe they're obviously not educated to deal with. And again, we're not mocking them. I mean, obviously it's noble that they would even take this upon, but like you're saying, there was issues in that. And that's another thing that the center does is helping educate midwives.
Yeah, that's a big part of the work and a big issue there. Like you said, they don't have the education. They just sort of assume the role because there's the need. And so they just do the work without really knowing what to do. So one of the big things that Casa Materna does is collaborate with another organization called Saving Mothers, and they educate specifically the midwives, the indigenous midwives that work there, in how to do birth safely, when to refer your patients to the hospital. So that has made a huge impact in the area. And yeah, it's really helping to reduce the infant and maternal mortality rate.
Yeah, because you were sharing that like medical issues arise, either with the mother or baby, but you guys, because you in the community, you're able to help them respond quickly to any potential issues. Meaning, they come to the center, they become educated, they can identify potential issues. Obviously, it's a center that they can contact and say, this is a potential issue that we're dealing with, or this is an issue I'm dealing with. Then you guys are able to rapidly respond to get them the proper medical care, either locally or, basically zip them off to the nearest hospital.
Yeah, exactly. So we have at the clinic basic medications and supplies to be able to help our patients, like if they're having like excessive bleeding, or if the baby needs help breathing after the birth, if they have high blood pressure. And there's these things that we can teach them about. Like if you're having problems, come see us, tell them why they should give birth with a skilled birth attendant. And then when they come to us, if it's something that we can't deal with, like you said, we're able to take them to the hospital where they are able to have a cesarean section or get more further medication, or things like that. That's more advanced care.
Mm-hmm. I know that my daughter, she gave birth in Guatemala City, and Because you said cesarean, it just kind of popped in my head. It was interesting. They're like very, very quick in providing a cesarean because like they're very scared of like how do I want to say this? Any potential complications. And if you're like
Right.
so far in your pregnancy, or they're just going to do a cesarean like right away to prevent any potential issues. Do you see that same thing around the Atitlán area?
Yes, unfortunately, that's very common in the hospitals, and that is something I've seen that in Guatemala and in Honduras. My sister said in Rwanda, it's the same thing where she lives. It's like in a lot of countries, it's this thing of the cesarean is somehow the easier or what they feel safer or more
Yeah.
convenient thing, but it's not necessarily the best for the mom and the baby. It is sometimes when it's needed, but they are very quick to go to C-sections. So that is something that needs to be changed, but it's kind of difficult because it's like very integrated into the hospital systems.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that my daughter, I mean, by memory, I don't think she was even given much of a choice. Because again, I can't remember the whole entire situation, but it was just like, no, I'm sorry, if you're going to have birth here in this hospital, it's going to be cesarean. I mean, it was just a matter of fact.
Wow.
So anyway, also too. I mean, obviously, we're talking about education. We're talking about educating midwifery. You guys even provide birth the ability to give birth in the center. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So then
Yeah.
also you guys are doing prenatal care and postnatal care as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So we offer care prenatally, and then they can come if they don't have any risks during the pregnancy, they can give birth at the center there. If there's anything that we identify that makes them high risk, we would refer them to the hospital. But yeah, many women are able to give birth there with no problems. So it's really great for them.
I think you shared the stat with me on how many babies, is the center, directly or indirectly responsible for births a day. I mean, I think you gave me that stat.
Yeah, it really fluctuates month by month, but it's usually a couple every day
Wow, that's
that
busy.
we're seeing there. Yeah, it's very busy, and it's a small center, but it's the more people hear about it, like the more patients come, and the staff is growing slowly to meet the need. Definitely, it's been a couple years since I've been there, but I follow along with their work, and yeah, they're providing really good care. We do more prenatally, and then like some of those women will end up giving birth there and some will birth in other places.
Yeah. Now, two a day, is that at the center, or are you saying two a day, meaning amongst all the midwives that you guys have trained, or how's that stat?
That's like one to or two births, could be more or less depending on the week, but per day of woman that will give birth there.
Okay.
And then seeing them prenatally, we have tons that come through every day. Some
Yeah.
days it can be up to 20 that will come in for a
Wow.
prenatal visit. So yeah.
So indirectly, you guys are actually responsible for even more births. I mean, if you think about it, meaning of all the midwives that you have trained.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
What a major impact that this center has made in the community. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
we were talking about, exploring ideas. I don't think you said anything's in concrete, but they are looking for other opportunities in the future to expand, and maybe even in another community. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. From the beginning, it's sort of been the vision to be able to establish one center and then open other centers as each one gets established, just kind of spread it out in these rural parts of Guatemala. So, if there's enough funding and enough staffing, that's the goal, to be able to open a second and, eventually a third and fourth, however many. So that's part of the long-term goal for sure.
Yeah. And, there's a doctor I met, through your husband, Kenneth, had coffee with him and so forth. And he's got a medical clinic in Camotan that's closer
Yeah.
to my area. You said that he's expressing interest as well to take upon something similar in his area as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. And he's actually already started collaborating with the Casa Materna a bit. So where we are, the Casa Materna is more on the west side of the country. And then his clinic's on the east side, like you said, closer to Honduras. And his is a general medicine clinic, but he's already collaborating with us with one of the midwives we have. She goes there every month and does prenatal visits and education, and it's kind of the first step to hopefully being able to start a birth center there as well.
Wow, that's awesome. I love to see fellow missionaries working together. Sometimes you see a habit of, hey, this is my little world. I'm going to protect my little world and I ain't going to help nobody else. And I just think that just limits the advancement of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And, here you guys are collaborating with another doctor to help him advance the same work that you guys are doing up there in Atitlán. So,
Yeah.
just we were talking a little bit because you say you're in Pennsylvania. You got your education and so forth. You did share with that you are looking at possibly going back to the mission field and then also using the education and knowledge that you have as a consultation basis as well. If you don't mind, just share a little bit about that. What are your plans?
Yeah, so that's definitely the long-term goal for me and my family. We want to move back to Central America. Since I'm a new graduate, I'm going to be working here with some experienced midwives, so I can kind of get that experience and then take that to back to Central America, and then be able to travel, like you said, and consult with other ministries and be able to help them better their practice with education and supplies. And I would ideally love to even open my own center to be able to provide that environment for women to come and receive care and give birth as well. So that's the idea I have for the long term.
Yeah. Well, it was awesome talking to you, Anna. Like I said, I've known you for 4 or 5 years. It's a treat to hear the path that you're on. And it's, anybody, it doesn't matter if if you're even interested in medical. I think you can really look at your life and say, look, this is how God led her, and sometimes I think we get caught up in trying to put God in boxes. And then I think if we try to define where he's placing us and put a mandate on that, sometimes we'll limit him. And look at you just kind of, it wasn't like you were saying I want this direction, but it was just like you were open to allow him to lead you. And through that whole entire process, look at where you're at today. You've got a promising future in mission work and helping a very needed area, and that is to more or less lower infant mortality and help women in the birthing process and having a child and so forth. So
Yeah.
I
Yes.
wish you the best. And then you and your husband, I know Kenneth I've known for since 2013. So I know that you guys are probably itching to get back down here. So I'm sure we'll
Yeah.
see you guys soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, God bless you guys. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.